And then we're live. So, welcome to the Rocket Launcher podcast. This is episode 99, interesting enough. And I
Hey,
am your host, Supreme King. Join with me, as always, is my co host, and his name is.
it's your guy Omazis.
I wonder if I don't so I know like some people will have like that big, this is the big podcast number. I don't really think there's too much that's going to be planned for the next one. If anything, I'll just make reference and then whatever's happening is happening. But I will say
Fair.
for sure, because I know I've said it so many times, but for sure I will be having more solo content around that time too. And there's a couple other things that I will have set up for the podcast, like more footage coming from some more retro systems and stuff, and I'll talk about that later on. But yeah, man, how's everything going with you?
I'm hot. It's hot. I
Yeah,
hate this.
yeah, it actually was cooler today though, because it was
Yeah,
like
but it's still
thunderstorming.
hot.
It was, yeah.
Like
I
it
don't
went
think it was as hot as the last like 2-3 days though.
no, but it's like 93 to like 88. Like that's still hot. Like
Yeah,
I still don't like it.
yeah. But there was like I guess a little bit more of like some thunderstorming today, and I guess certain streets and stuff was flooded from what I was seeing,
Yeah.
and some freeways. But yeah, I didn't get caught in it. I was good to go.
I drove in it. Shout out to a friend of mine. I guess a little personal, but a buddy of mine just graduated med school. So, but yeah, I had to drive in it. It was not fun. But it was short. It felt like it was like a sprinkler, and then just moved on.
Okay, yeah, I seen there were certain streets where it was like the water was up to like halfway up to the tires and stuff.
Oh yikes!
So I don't know, but it's probably gonna be better by the time the weekend come around. But maybe it's a few streets that
Mm,
was a little flooded. But it is what it is. Let's I guess get to the gaming. Um, Better late than never, I guess. We had another show, the one I guess event that was like, sticking out, like, well, where is this particular company? And so it's Nintendo. Decided to show up, you know, on CP time a little bit, and they had their direct. I'm a little torn on the direct as we go along. We'll talk about it, but I will say it was just 45 minutes, and they had their stuff that they showed. I think as a show, it was fine for what it was because it was just 45 minutes. Nintendo has a way different format than some of the stuff we were talking about from the last couple weeks. So there was no skits, there was no funny business agendas, narcissistic people, everything we've said before. They stuck to just here are the games, here are release dates, and then that's it. So I can appreciate that. Um, I just kind of felt, and we'll get into a little by little. I just want to say overall, I wasn't as impressed as I would have wanted to be just with this
okay.
particular show. But how do you feel about this show?
I actually thought it was a decent show. I
Yeah,
wasn't gonna be like you on some like 10 out of 10, amazing. But what I do like, and as we talk about the games, I think it was nice that it seems like there was like a little bit of something for everybody.
yeah.
Like it
What's
seemed like
interesting,
every genre was covered. So like
I
every type of gamer has something to look forward to.
like I almost had a thought process of just like there were certain things that was like rolling my eyes at, but at the same time it was just like, okay, the younger the Nintendo audience, the better this show is. Because I was looking at it like there were some noobs that I follow, right? That they do Nintendo content as like their first party content or the
Okay.
content they play first, basically over other content. And for them, they're just like, oh, this is a 9 out of 10. This is us blown away. In my head, I'm like, how? But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Okay, with some of them, like they're not as cultured as others, and at the same time it's like if this is your number one platform and you're not as cultured, a lot of stuff seem relatively new to you, right? And so
Mm,
it's like, okay, from their perspective, it probably was a 9 out of 10. As weird as it sounds, to me it wasn't. But we'll get to that probably at the end. Um, I think for the sake of the show, they did have a strong opening because they started with Mario and Luigi.
yep.
With I guess the game was called Mario and Luigi Brothership, kind of clever a little bit, off of maybe the Battleship type name.
Yeah.
Um, how do you feel about that particular game though?
It looked okay. I'm just happy there's another Mario and Luigi game. Um, like it looked like it'll be fun. Like I don't know. It wasn't like my like oh I need to get this, but like it looked like it's okay.
So I'm gonna be the bad guy.
Okay.
I'm gonna be the bad guy because the second I saw it, um, in my head, like the bad Supreme King came out a little bit. Like this was like one of my roll your eyes moment where it was just
Okay.
it was like the game itself is probably going to be fun. It probably is. They usually try to make sure that anything that has Mario attached to it has some form of quality. But I just felt like in my head I was just like Mario in himself is showing up way more than like Call of Duty almost. Like it was just like one of those things where just like Mario again to start. Like it's like it's gonna come. It's gonna come, but at the same time it was just like bro, they really don't have no other IPs. That was just all the only thing I was just thinking. I was just like there's really no other IPs and I know it, but like quite literally there really isn't no other IPs. Um and so we went with Mario again. And so to me I just kind of feel like they need to let him breathe a little bit. And it's like, well, it's Nintendo, so what do you expect? But from my perspective is like, well, we just kind of released this Mario, the Paper Mario, right? And not too long ago, we're coming off of like Mario Wonder, which was still an awesome game. I was just saying like when he shows up again, I'm just like, all right, like
You just feel like it's you
it's
just feel like
just
it's too much Mario
it's
and
too yeah, but at the same
original
time,
stuff.
it's like it's Nintendo. This is just kind of what they do, and I understand like the diehards and stuff. Like they've already unsubscribed, right? But it's just like, for me, I'm just like, yo, that's they do it immediately. I was just like, they really just don't trust any other IP to sell the product, the Switch at all. That's kind of where I came from with it. But the game, like you said, it looks okay and stuff, and I feel like that's where we're at with Mario overall. It's like you don't want to curse it, you don't want to say bad about it, but
Well,
you're almost
no, it's not.
content with it. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't
Like,
say like bad. Like for example, so like Paper Mario is not for me, but it's a
mm-hmm,
popular IP. So the reason why I didn't talk about it is because I mean it looks like it's for somebody. If I had to compare this to like Super Mario Wonder, it looks worse. But
mm-hmm,
like on its own, it looks like it will be like fun, right? Like it look like I think there's a difference between like bashing something because it's bad versus
yeah,
just accepting that things are okay. And I've been on this kind of kick, and this is, I guess, just me personally, where I've been trying to be like, the world lives in too much extremes. Everything either has to be a 10 out of 10 or it's a 1 out of 10. And no one's being okay with things just being okay. And I feel like, so I've been pushing more to like realize when things are just okay. And I feel like
mm-hmm.
this game is just okay. Like it looks like it'll be a good time, but I don't feel like a rush that I need to play it.
So the only thing that I was getting at is the way it seemed to me was if I compared it to some of the other shows, and maybe we're doing this too quick. We have to go through all the other stuff first, but I just wanted to say, like, let's say just the big three, right? So it's Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation, right? Like, quite literally, Nintendo was the only one that did not show a new IP for me. And it was just like the IP probably could have been okay and not that good or spectacular, however you might want to look at it. But um, uh,
It did.
it's just
Fantasian. It did have a new IP though. Fantasian Neon Dimension.
that's new.
I've never heard of
Like,
it.
that's not. Let me go back. I don't think I even wrote it down. But maybe is it first party?
Fantasian Neo Dimension. It's Square Enix.
Oh,
So
Square
probably
Enix don't
not.
count. Square Enix. I guess.
Well,
I guess.
well,
I
no, at the
guess.
same time, because like the state of play for PlayStation, what new IP did they have? Like, it
Concord.
was Concord, but that's a
The
first party
first
game.
one. Yeah, the
But that's
first
also a
game that
first.
they showed.
Or, but that is that first party? Concord?
Yes, Concord is
Ah.
first party. Well, I was just saying, like I don't think Nintendo shows new IPs as first party at all. Like, and it's not just like this is the first show. It's like it's kind of been that way for a really long time, and it's just kind of like, well, let's just like go back to Mario again. And don't get me wrong, like I still play some of them. I own a bulk of them. But it was just when I saw it, I was just like they come out the gate with it, and I was like, yo, we just had like two
Oh
or
no,
three of them.
Fantasian's coming out on everything.
Yeah, if it's Square Enix, it probably is. But like I'm not gonna be too negative on it because I still thought as a show, the pacing I put like same old because the format was like that same music, the same like let's talk to you like you're a 4-year-old kind of thing, but at least it was just all games. Um, but yeah, that was the first thing that came out. That's not really something I think I'm a wish list to be honest, but is that something you would wish list? Is Mario Luigi Battle Brothership?
Now, like, well, I want it, so probably yeah. Which is, I don't know if it'll be like a day one buy, but I do plan on playing it.
I might look
Oh,
at
I
it
got
and
one.
see how it looks, and then
I don't
I go
know if
from
this would
there.
be considered first party, but it's only on Switch and PC. And I don't think it counts when you say like PC. Uh, well, because if that was the case, then Xbox wouldn't have any exclusives because everything goes out on
But I
PC.
mean, like
But
first party means that it was made by their studio, basically.
let's see. I don't know who this is made by.
So that's what that would mean.
Give me a second.
Um,
I will
but
find out.
while you're doing that, I will say at the very least, the first game that I did write down that I said I would play, um, was called, I believe, Mayo Memories in Orbit, which is like it's more of a 2D platformer with some combat here and there. Typical indie looking stuff that I like. That is multi-plat, but I wrote it down as something that I would probably wish list, and I did wish list it. I think that might have been the third or fourth game shown in the list, and so I thought that was something I would play. What's the first game you wrote down?
Well, it was the Mario Luigi Brothership, but then also Fantasian Neo Dimension.
Okay. And that's the Square Enix game that's like multi-plat,
Yeah.
basically.
So it's the Square Enix game. It was very Final Fantasy looking because Square Enix.
Yeah.
And it says that it turns out this is actually a sequel. And the first game was like considered the father to Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it looked really cool. Like it just seems like a nice, cool another RPG that's coming out.
Yo, Final Fantasy's play order is crazy. Like even though everything is like separate in a way, there's like I think I saw somewhere where there's supposed to be some sort of like a timeline thing where like some stuff is supposed to be ancient in the timeline. like in there, like some stuff is like hundreds of years before everything, but it's like at the same time, like the third or fourth game out or something. Like it's crazy if you really go back and look at the timeline. Because they have so much stuff. Even though a lot of the games are independent of each other, it's like zoop and zoop zoop zoop. um, but yeah, I guess now the next game that I wrote down was actually not really a game that I think I was gonna buy on the Switch. It was just something I noted that I was like, okay, I might go back and just play this where it came from. The Donkey Kong Country HD,
Oh yeah,
which is
Donkey Kong
supposed to
Country
be,
Returns.
yeah, it was supposed to be ported over from the Wii. Um, if like, well, what they said was that it was also supposed to include the levels from the 3DS version. So that might entice me to like play that version, but it didn't look like it was like a real true HD remaster or anything. It looked like it was a straight up port. Like it really looked like Wii quality stuff. And I was just like, I don't know. Most of Nintendo's games do not drop in price at all. Like that would look like one of them where I really would want it to be closer in the $40 range to $35 range. If I was to buy it, which I still might, because it does have like the 3DS levels that was like built into it, so they put some work into it. It just did not look like it was HD to me. Not to be too negative. I sound negative, I know I do, but it didn't look that good to me. But was this something that you liked? Did you? That was another one of their first parties, at least. You still there? You left? You unsubscribed? You abandoned me? He's gone. He's gone. He left. I don't know what happened. He got mad that I kept trashing Nintendo. I do want to say, and while you get your audio right, there was this one part that I will say was the good, which was something that I don't think I've ever seen Nintendo acknowledge in a long time. And it was just basically, he really did left, but he probably will come back. We'll fix it in a minute. I just wanted to mention, they had a section where they said, this is our 17 plus section, and I guess they were referring to like their expansion pack. And in the expansion pack, they were going to have some games that were like a little bit more mature that you typically don't see from Nintendo nowadays at all. And then I think one of them was like Perfect Dark, and like it was some N64 stuff. And it looked to me like basically it was like, you know, a whole bunch of like games that are like M rated, and I don't even think anything was T rated. But it was just like some stuff that was M rated basically. And I thought that, you know, they had, you know, went out the box a little bit by creating that little section online, because that's not something they normally do. So I called it good, because it was like, okay, this is a different layer that could potentially grow within Nintendo at some point, where it's like not everything needs to be like, you know, really not everything needs to be like, how did I say it, like kitty looking or like PBS looking. You know, just like Kirby on the screen, which I think was still a fun game and everything. But every game doesn't have to have that cartoony look. Maybe some of them might be a little rugged here and there. And as time goes on, they might add more and more to that section. And then once that section, if they can look at their data and it says like, oh, you know, there are a lot of people here playing some of these games, maybe we might work on a game that is more T rated or M rated, which still seems like a far stretch for Nintendo. But yes, I think my co-host is back. Did you blow off some
I'm
steam,
back.
sir? Did you? Were you that upset about me trashing Nintendo's game
Yeah,
and you're
man.
back?
I was out here. I unsubscribed. Nah, heat. So internet
Heat.
just went out.
The internet went out
That
for
happens
heat.
sometimes.
I
Yep.
struggled talking through for a second. I had to stutter a little bit because I was just like, oh shoot, what's gonna happen? But no, I think so. I can tell you what I just said because you cut out for a second. Basically, I was saying the good that came from this was they had mentioned at one point on their online that they were going to make a 17 plus section, and I just
Oh
feel
yes.
like I feel like that's something that Nintendo usually shies away from. And I thought
Uh
that that was big for them to at least acknowledge that some of their fans do, you know, enjoy some mature content here and there, and it could open the door if they just port over a bunch of stuff, because I think they put like Perfect Dart from the
Yep.
N64 and stuff in there. But if stuff start to port over and they get like data that shows like a whole bunch of people was in there looking at that, maybe one day they might consider, making more mature games maybe for the next gen.
Maybe they
Um,
can get that Wii game again where you're the samurai.
mm,
Uh, that was like rated M. Remaster it with some Switch
uh,
controls.
Maybe I don't know if you talk about it started with an I. I don't know if it's that one. Maybe there was one where you play as a ninja, but I think it's on a GameCube. I don't think it was the Wii. But yeah, if you figure it out later on, you can
Red
like,
Steel.
what's it called?
Red Steel.
Red Steel.
Yeah,
Shout
that's
out to
what I'm
Red
thinking
Steel.
of. It was like
Okay.
one of the first games that came out on Wii, and it was M for mature. They used the nunchuck as a blade. It was like a first-person game where you're going through with that. There's just like blood everywhere, and everybody was surprised that Nintendo did that.
Hey, I would just like to see them acknowledge that, not everything needs to be like cartoony. Like maybe, like even if it's like, let's say it looks more animated, but like it's crazy because Nintendo could shine in this area if they weren't so afraid to do it. Like, because animes are not cartoons, right? They do a lot of
Right.
adult stuff, a lot of blood, a lot of gore. It's like Nintendo could easily have a certain art style where they, like really put emphasis on that and let like a whole
Uh,
section do like some M-rated games and stuff. But we're pushing it because it's Nintendo. But give me another game that you may have written down. Is there anything else?
um, I also had that Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports.
Okay.
And speaking of sports, they're adding basketball to the sports game.
I
I
saw
forgot what it's
that
called.
that that didn't look good to me a little bit, but it still probably is cool because it was a free update at the very least.
Yeah.
It was like a 2-on-2 kind of thing. It was
Yep.
just
And then they
like,
have free throw
yeah,
basketball. I don't know. Those can be fun. Sometimes I remember them being fun on the Wii. So
yeah, you're gonna throw your controller right into the TV or something like.
with the little strap on. Uh, I also had that Funko Fusion game, which was already shown before. Uh,
Yeah,
they also showed Marvel versus Capcom collection. That was
yeah.
nice. It seems like they're capitalizing on X-Men. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
coming back out, but I would like a proper just sequel to it instead.
I don't know if did they also do a old school Street Fighter collection, or was that?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
that was part of the Capcom collection.
okay, because I was just like, because there was a point where, and I don't want to be negative with it again. It's just I remember I put like, I put the good and the bad just for naming the show, or like
Uh,
grading the show. There was a point where I put pointless ports,
so
and it might have been around that time because that was still cool to see. It was just like, I maybe it's just like what I said before. If you're coming from the perspective of a noob Nintendo person, like all of that's new for you, and
Yeah.
you probably had no way of like having access to that. But there was like a giant amount of stuff that I literally have like on my U Mini, the Game Boy, right?
Uh-huh.
Through emulation. And I just think that if you're looking, like, I'm not that much of a PC master race person yet, but I'm just saying, like, if you look at it from the point of view of somebody from PC, it's just kind of like you. I don't think you sold them on anything.
Yeah.
I
But at
don't
the
think
same
you
time,
sold
I don't
them.
think they're marketing towards those people. They're
The
marketing towards the people that are interested in Nintendo Online and have the subscription service and are trying to pick things up like
Yeah,
on there. Like it's for them.
I think was this at like halfway in? Was this at like
Yeah.
because there was this point where I put like at I wrote it down too. It was like at 23 minutes in, I got up and took a break. I don't. It was just like it was one of those things. Where I was just like, all right, let me just go get some water or some food or something real quick, and then came back to it. Even though it was like 45 minutes long, I was just like, "Eeh." But let me go back for a second. Did you have something that you wrote down that's like for the good, like the good
Yeah.
part?
I
What
got a
did
few
you
game
put?
games. Well,
Like
I
the
like
good
that
of the
they're adding.
show. Yeah. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
like that they're adding more Ace Attorney, the
Oh,
investigations
the
collection. It's just
collection.
nice to have all of the Ace Attorneys
Mm-hmm.
all on one thing, right? Because they're spread out. Like some of these, they said they were only Japanese released that are being released here
Mm-hmm.
through this, and they had some. It's like you can catch some on the Game Boy, some on the Wii, some on this, some on that. Like they're very spread out. So it's nice that like it seems like all of the Ace Attorney games are all together, and all of their variants on one system. So that's kind of cool. Um, the 100 line Last Defense Academy.
Okay.
That game also looked good. Uh, it's basically it was another RPG, anime style. Where there's like monsters and you're like one of a few people at a school and you go out and fight monsters.
Okay.
And then of course the main event, the Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. I know some people are against it. Uh, some people argue that it was, they're doing the whole woke thing and everything because
I
it's a
saw
woman
some jokes.
protagonist.
I saw some jokes on that because I think they were coming off the heels of a few months ago they had the Peach game.
Yeah, so
Uh
Princess Peach and then this one.
yeah, I think it's kind of to me it's funny that people went there, but at the same time it's kind of a stretch because it's like with the Nintendo games it's just quite literally it's just a girl that you play as. But I don't know if that's enough to really call it
Well,
woke. It's just kind of
people were
crazy to
trying
go
to
there.
argue woke because, like, Mario is considered the protagonist, but
Yeah.
here's a game all about Peach, and then Link is considered the protagonist, even though the game's called Legend of Zelda, right? It's like Link, and now it's like, well, instead of being the guy Link, you have to be the woman and save him instead. So people
Yeah.
tried to argue woke. My thing is, I don't think it's woke at all. I do think this is one of those cases too where, and I've said this before, but it usually applies to TV shows and movies, um,
Mm-hmm.
where because there are so many forced woke things that happen, a different idea just gets lumped in there
Mm-hmm.
where it didn't have its intention to be that. I think that's what this was. Like when I looked at this game, what it was you have this entire disconjointed timeline of Legend of Zelda games where the premise is go save Zelda, right? She's kidnapped and you got to go save her. And then in this one, it's, well, Link saves her, but then he gets trapped. So now Zelda has to save him. And they could have easily went the route of like going, well, she's a super ninja who can fight better than Link and can save him easily and all this stuff. But instead, that I like how they're doing the copying mechanic, right? Where she can
Mm-hmm.
copy and paste stuff because they showed that like you have to platform around by like, oh, I copied this crate. All right, let me copy and paste these crates so I can like climb up this hill. But then
Mm-hmm.
they also said that when she dropped a rock on an enemy and then copied the enemy, so then when she had to go fight other enemies, she just pasted a bunch of them and they fought for her. And I love the idea that you could just manage an army that way, where it's let me copy these certain types of enemies to do stuff in specific situations. I think that's going to be, it's just a fun mechanic. And I don't
Yeah.
think it's something that Link would do because he's the like sword and shield hero. He wouldn't like make an army. So I think this is a very interesting take. Some people just called it the year of the princesses. This is Princess Peach and Princess Zelda saving the day. But I think the game looks a lot of fun. So I'm here for it.
I did write that one down as one that I would try. Echoes of Wisdom. So I guess the game comes out um September 26, 2024, so it will be very close this upcoming fall. I may go ahead and use this as my October game for like the little GameStop discount.
Okay.
Somewhere in the middle of that, I think I gotta like renew it. I don't even know when, but I'm pretty sure they'll tell me. But yeah, it looked like, you know, a little top down. It has some Breath of the Wild kind of look to it at the end when it was like panning out. When they panned out a little bit, I was like, oh, it looks kind of nice. It looks kind of nice. I'm not against it. I thought it was okay for what it was. I was expecting them to have, you know, uh, Zelda in some form. I thought though that they might have just went with another GameCube port or a Wii port, but they actually did a new game, so I appreciate a new game. Yeah. I think for me there was a couple more games just before this that I did write down. One in particular which I thought was interesting because I had to go educate myself on this. Dragon Quest 3 HD remake. So even though that is the third game, because at some point they said Dragon Quest 1 and 2 coming 2025. In my head, I was just like, well, why is it backwards? Like, wouldn't you do 1 and 2 first? So 3 is technically the prequel. And it's kind of like a naming thing for some people probably because that might be confusing, but I guess die hard fans would know. So you technically in your play order you want to play this first and then play 1 and 2. But that comes out November 14th 2024. I believe it is also on PC. That is a game that I'm really gonna wait a while though, because they want a hot $60 for that, and I was just like, I don't know about that, because I could imagine they're gonna want 60 for the other two as well, and so I'm like, all right, I put it on my wish list, but I'm not about to touch it yet. One of the games they kind of show really quickly that I am gonna get, I decided to get, was the Luigi's Mansion 2. HD version of the game. I believe it's called Dark Moon on 3DS. I technically have the 3DS version, but I want to play this version as well. Because this one was one of those, like, unlike the Donkey Kong one, it actually looks like they worked on the graphics. It doesn't look like a direct port to me. So yeah, funny enough though, I think that's where it ends, except for one main game. But I just wanted to ask you first, did you put down here anything about like what was the bad? Because I mentioned it was ports for me, but
I didn't write down the bad games. I focused on the good stuff. But for me, there was a lot of ports, like a lot of ports and a lot of like older stuff. I didn't need to see more of Funko Fusion. Like I already know that's coming out. I did, like I said, I liked that there was like something for everyone. Like if you're a shooter, here's a game. If you're a RPG person, here's a game. If you like to do reading and investigating, here's a game. Like there's something for everybody. But yeah, it was just a lot. It was a lot of ports.
If I was to compare this to Jeff Keighley's show though, with Jeff Keighley, they were showing you a lot of stuff that you knew was already coming out, but at least some of his stuff was still technically new games, where a bulk of Nintendo's directs it's not just this one, it's a lot of them in the past. They have this conveyor belt of just port overs that are like clearly old, clearly stuff you can just go grab and play from any mom and pop store. But at the very least, they did have enough new here that wasn't ports that I think Jeff Keighley's shows lack. So it kind of gives me the edge over on this particular show. But
Okay.
um, the closing game, which was, one of my highlights, I guess, was Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it looked fine. It was a little underwhelming for me just because of looking at the new Doom game that's going to come out is kind of similar, but Doom is Doom and this was this. But I'm excited to play another Metroid game because I'm a big fan of Metroid and all the Samus, 2D to 3D stuff. I wonder how this is going to fit in the timeline because the Prime games are not at the end of the timeline. The 2D games are at the end of the timeline. But yeah, it looked though like this was probably a game that might launch with the Switch too. They said it was going to be in 2025 and to be patient and everything, but from what I remember seeing, this was the one game that looked like that was probably at 60 FPS, where everything else looked like it was made for like the Switch. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it was just me, but I thought it looked a little bit like the frame rate was a little bit more smooth with this. But yeah, it looked like what
You
you
did
norm.
remind me of one more down though.
What's up?
I did have another down. You just reminded me about that. I didn't like that it just said 2025.
Oh,
I
for
felt like,
this,
yeah, I felt like it's been in development so long that at this point I feel like you should have a release date
I think
if you
this
were going to
was
show it off.
yeah, this was one of the first games that was supposed to be announced on the Switch. Period. When it first
Yeah.
like, I think this was like 2017
Yep.
when this first did this little graphic.
Because it reminds me of when Skull and Bones was like this year, and then when it came to that year, they showed another trailer. And it was like next year, and then like
Yeah,
next year. So I was like, no, give me a date. And why is it like so? Because everything else, the farthest it was like January 2025, right? And then this one just saying 2025. It's like, come on, man. Y'all had it long enough. Like, I would have rather you not show it if you're still unsure.
yeah.
Personally.
I think this might be their first cross-gen game between the Switch and the next Switch.
Okay.
That's what I think this is, and they're just not really saying it, just because the frame rate looked like it was more 60 FPS. It did not look like it was still 30 FPS. If it was a lot more smoother than some of the other stuff. Because typically, like with a Switch game, and I'm not trying to be negative again. Typically in the trailers, it looked grainy or something on the edges, and it
Yes.
looked more like it was compressed or
Oh,
something.
you reminded me of another thing because I didn't
Yeah,
write it down. Speaking of that, on this exact topic, Stray.
yeah,
Stray coming to the Switch. It looked bad.
yeah.
Like, compared to like on the consoles, like when you looked at it, it was just the world just looked so ugh. And that's
It looked
yeah,
like everything just gets compressed almost to fit
yes.
on the Switch.
I
And
booted that out of memory. Jeez.
yeah, but sometimes their new games look like that too. But I will say the Metroid Prime 4 was noticeable where it didn't. And it reminded me of like Bayonetta 3. Like Bayonetta 3, the footage that they were showing, it was like definitely on the Switch when they first showed it, and everybody was like kind of complaining about the frame rate and everything before the whole like actress like controversial thing. Like that kind of like took over, but right before that it was just like, "Ugh, that game looked a little rough." You know, it's some of the games will have that kind of look to it because it was on the Switch, but I felt like Metroid Prime didn't, and it kind of made me believe that it's possibly like going to be a Switch 2 release or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it would be interesting though, because if that's the case, then the Switch version will probably be 60, and then the other version will be 70 if they do that. Because I have a feeling there's no way Nintendo's going to sit here and not make a $70 price point for their games going forward. Because they already did it with like Tears of the Kingdom, right? Because they knew they would get away with that particular game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I looked at this as like overall, it was the same old as what I put for the pace. What did you put for the pace? Did you write that down or?
Uh, I didn't before. I remember it moved fast. It wasn't a lot of like weird talking
Yeah.
in between. Or I also did. I like that. Like I don't remember there being like talking over the game
Mm-hmm.
where it'll be like like wow, he just turned into an elephant. That's cool. Like how they like they're
Yeah.
trying to explain everything that's happening over the Mario game. This didn't have that. It just dropped the trailer.
Yeah,
So I like that.
it was slightly less of that. It wasn't. Maybe they got a little bit of feedback on that, because I was complaining always in the past that like they'll talk to you like if you're like a 4-year-old, right?
Uh,
And like in some cases they still kind of do that a little bit. Because one of the things I always used to cringe is when they would be like, "How is everything so far?" and then just
yeah.
stand there for a while. I'm like, that's like Blue's Clues run on one. Like that's what they do on Blue's Clues. Like they let you talk or something and just stand there. I'm like, okay. Um, but I will say, overall, because of so much of it that I didn't like and stuff, I kind of was like literally right in the middle. Because I was just like, okay, some stuff that I did see, I did like, but there at the same time was just a whole lot of stuff that I didn't. So I graded it a 5 out of 10. That's kind of
Okay.
where I put it. Where were you thinking about this?
6.5.
6.5.
Oh, it was a 6.5. It was like, yes, they're doing ports, but it seems like, that's what they're doing. And I do feel like there is a high chunk. Like, I always think like the regular audience, and then I try to think from the mindset of a Nintendo fan.
Yeah.
And like for Nintendo fans, if they got the new system, and it's like, oh, I get to play all of my old stuff and
Hmm.
relive it again on the new system, something like, that they're probably excited for it. And I think I gave it pluses for just pretty much hitting every genre,
Hmm.
whether you like it or not, right? Like they had a fighting game, they had a sports game, they had something where you can move around. I think it showed off Just Dance again, right?
Oh
As
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So it's like I felt like they had something for everyone. So that's what gave it some extra points. It wasn't like I was excited for every game. I did like the ones that I was excited for. So yeah, 6.5.
Um, so I do want to mention one thing, and I'm not gonna bash Nintendo anymore after this. The stuff that they showed that was new. So for me, when I said I was kind of like rolling my eyes and stuff at it, I kind of felt like when they did get to a new game, it still felt like they were showing a port in a way. That's kind of
Okay.
how I felt with it. It just didn't seem like it was new, you know. But I have to be more realistic with it. Like, okay, they are still at the end of the generation. Maybe it might not make that much sense to introduce a brand new IP at the end of this generation. Somebody can argue that, and I can say, you know what, I can understand that. So I will say this though, for the Switch 2, the ports got to stop. Like it kind of has to stop for me. Like if anything, the way you can get around it, like the Switch can be back compatible basically, or Switch 2 is back compatible with Switch 1, and so it can play the ports that way. But honestly, I need to see some new IPs at this point for Nintendo. I can't keep seeing the same stuff over and over again. It just like I could see Mario is still obviously their number one guy. It feels like 2010 John Cena to me. It just kind of it
Okay.
feels like that to me. It almost feels like you have more there that you could possibly use, but either you just don't trust it, you don't want to do it. It's just easier to just keep going with them, but you don't give us enough time to like miss him, right? You don't give us enough time to miss a Mario game. Because I'm surprised you didn't mention it. Somewhere in the middle of this, they had another Mario Party as well, and
Oh, I forgot about that.
I was just like, I didn't want to play that either, but it was just like it was like if you notice, it was like 3 or 4 back. I think it's 3 Mario Party games in the past, like I want to say 2 to 3 years. Like they just did another one that was
Hmm.
supposed to be like the collection of the N64 or something, and then they had one right before it, and I'm like, I feel like they hit a brick wall at some point. Like they cannot do nothing else. And maybe for some people that's okay. Maybe it's just I don't know. At some point, I don't want to keep making excuses for them because I just feel like even if with PlayStation we as a collective we can criticize Concord for being like maybe a ripoff or rip off gameplay wise for Overwatch, rip off character wise for Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just to me they came up with something. I kind of have to give them credit for at least doing something that was not the exact same thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the way it looks like if PlayStation was doing what Nintendo did, they would have just took all their IPs and made them Lego IPs instead of just Horizon. That's kind of how it looks. It's just like at some point I need something else. But yeah, I'll move on from that. And that's the last I think show overall for all of it. So we went with like what 12 or 13, probably more than that shows in the past 3 weeks. I would have liked to possibly, even though this was just one show, I would have liked some of the other shows to kind of like be in line with this one, like the Wholesome and some of the other ones, just to even it out more. But yeah, better late than never. They came out with their thing. And I guess we can move on. I still pick some good stuff. You still pick some good stuff. Interesting enough, they still chose to not show their Switch 2 stuff. So I'm guessing we're not going to see any of that at all this year. So probably what I was saying before, like it was going to be by like April or something this year. Maybe they'll show some stuff by April of next year. And then it'll be out by holiday season next year, which is fine. If they need more time to beef up the hardware, please beef it up. Please go ahead with it. But I absolutely need to see like at least 3 new IPs. It ain't got to be right away, but at least 3 throughout the first half of their generation, and then 3 for the next half, maybe. At the very least, I think that's not asking for too much when you're talking about like one of the major 3. But yeah, we can move on. I can just go into the halfway point where I talk about, the free stuff for Epic Games. Can't really complain as much as I did for the other stuff because it's free. How do you complain for free? So, yeah, Epic Games, I guess they had like 2 of their games that they gave out this week. And one of them, I believe, so one of them was called Rumble Club, and it says the free game of the week bonus. So apparently, when you go to add it's not the base game. You have to go back and add the base game first, which is still free. But what they show directly under Epic Games is like this, like I guess, extra content with it. So click on the base game, add it for free, then go back and click on this content, and then you'll get what you need for the Rumble Club game. And then the other game was called Freshly Frosted. It looked like it was like a donut or something on the cover. So yeah, those are the 2 games.
It's donut conveyor belt game. Like it's a puzzle. You have to lay down conveyor belts correctly so the donuts keep going through.
All right, shout out to my homie Homer Simpson. But that is available right now until June 27th. And then afterwards, I believe from June 27th to July 4th. I can't read my own handwriting. It was Sunless Skies Sovereign Edition. I don't really know too much what that is about, but I did click on the trailer. It looked like one of those spaceship shoot 'em up type of games, but they had like a little bit extra going on. So if you like the shoot 'em ups, they're gonna have that free next week. And then other than that, there was some things that I just wanted to give a shout out to. Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5. Apparently They did an update which has some bug fixes and stuff, but then it also added 8 new suits that were free. It's not they're not
Yep.
actually charging you for
So
this.
I was right.
Hmm.
I was right. When we first talked about this game, you said they were going to monetize every suit. And I said, I don't think they're going to do that. And you were like, nope, they're going to monetize it. And then they had that pre order to get those suits. And we thought you were right. But I was right. They're still adding free suits.
Yeah, I guess it's a little of both. Like some of the stuff
Yep.
was monetized, some of it wasn't. So
Monetized in terms of pre order, but then they
yeah,
had suit. But you also had guessed that there wouldn't be any suits in the game. You had to buy all of them.
I didn't think it was all of them. I thought it was gonna be like one of those things where it's like the best, like the
Oh,
best of
nope.
them. But I guess I don't know. Depending on how you look at it, it's 8 more suits that are free in the game. I don't know. Was the other one 8 suits or was it like 5 or something? I think it
It
was 5.
was,
Was it?
no, it was 8.
It was
It was
8.
4 for each person. Yep.
Okay. So yeah. Oh, because I remember I went to try to double check under like the Play Store to see if they were showing something for sale. They were showing something for sale for the stuff before, but this didn't show up. And then I was looking through the news sources, and it was like, yes, it's free. So I was like, okay, cool, cool, cool. It's free. And then the DLC I wanted to also make mention to that's actually not going to be free, but Elden Ring's DLC is coming out as when this recording goes out. The hype, it seems to be real. Like
Yeah.
this game is taking back over Twitch overnight, as if it
YouTube
was
as well.
like, yeah, like if it wasn't like out for a year and a half to 2 years. And so yeah, that expansion I think was like $40. And yeah, everybody's playing this again. It's like if it was brand new. So this is probably going to be the game of the summer again. Um, Maybe not for the year. It would be weird to be game of the year. Maybe for the fans' sake, but definitely is going to take over this summer. So many people I was watching. There was this one girl. It's funny because I was watching Twitch before we got on, and this one girl was like basically trying to fight this one boss, and she had her like chat and everything like edging her on, cheering her on. But I was looking at it like she was fighting so incorrectly. Like she kept trying to like get so many hits off in one go and just leaving herself open for, getting hit, and basically kept losing.
Oh,
And so I told her in the chat, like I wrote in the chat, 2 hits at a time and then roll back, because that's the best you could do right now, like with the way you play. And she never took offense to it, and she was just kind of like hyping, like, okay, Supreme, okay, Supreme. And she actually started to do it, and then eventually she actually won. And I was like, oh,
hey.
shoot. Somebody took my advice and actually won. At first she wasn't. She was still kind of trying to go for the third hit and stuff and kept getting hit. I'm like, stop going for the third hit. Then she finally took my advice and like, won. And it took her a bunch of tries, but she did it. And she even like was shouting me out and thanking me for helping her, I guess.
Oh, look at you
Which
being
was
a hero.
it was kind of funny. But yeah, with a lot of these games, what I've learned is you never want to complete the combo. You just want to do like half the combo and just step back. You don't even really have to roll back. You'll have enough stamina to step back if you're not really trying to button mash. And these bosses would be very easy. I took a tiny, tiny, tiny break from Bloodborne myself, just because I found the Steam Deck and I was playing some more Persona 4 Golden, which is still cool. Doesn't look as good as Persona 5, obviously, but it was still very good. And I'm starting to get the hang of it. I'm probably put a little bit more time in it. And then I'll go back to Bloodborne in a second, because I'm at a part where I have to fight another boss, but I haven't fought him yet for the first time. And sometimes it's hard to like really get into that and fight bosses during the weekday because of work and stuff. You just don't want to
Yeah.
do it. Where the Steam Deck is like, I could really just pick this up real quick and just kind of play on it. So that's what I'm doing right now. I let the ROG Ally just sit for a second. I picked the Steam Deck back up and I'm kind of playing that right now. And yeah. One other game I just want to make a shout out mention too that we have not talked about on this channel and is really getting popular on Twitch. It's called Chained Together. Very interesting game where it's kind of a multiplayer game. We're not really like PvP or nothing. Like you guys are literally chained together and everybody has to like work together to like go up this obstacle that kind of looks like the game Only Up in a way, but it almost looks like they're in
Okay.
hell. Like it's just like at the bottom is red everywhere. It looks kind of like lava in the distance and stuff. And they're like trying to go up and it looks like the game is really at its best when you have a full four people that are all chained together and it's like one person has to jump, next person has to jump, and if you everybody does everything correctly, they can all just keep moving up the obstacle course. But the second somebody screws up, it could drag everybody back down, which is crazy. But it seems to be a big hit on Twitch. I've seen it pop up a lot of times with a lot of people that I follow and stuff. But I think this is on PC. It doesn't look like it has that much, budget behind it. It's not a AAA game, but it's in the same quality as Only Up. Only Up was like a Twitch big game last year, and so this is like the next kind of game that's like that for this year. And yeah, I just want to shout that out. Yeah, and I guess we can move on. We got one other thing that I had was a topic that is gonna go very quick, and then we might be done by like an hour and 10 minutes because I don't think this has to be long at all. That might be the latest. But there was a game that was shown that was not on anybody's like gaming show. We just got done with like 3 weeks worth of gaming shows, and I think it was a very big disservice to not show this game on a gaming show. I'm pretty sure it's multi-plat except for Switch. Like almost everything is multi-plat except for Switch. But the game that I'm alluding to is called A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead. And yes,
Yeah.
it's about the same franchise from the movies A Quiet Place.
Yep.
It looks similar, like the format might be similar to like Alien Isolation in a way. Because the character had like this meter and they were trying to like run around and they're using the meter to like track if like the thing is anywhere near them. And they're not running around, obviously they're creeping around trying not to make any noise. But in the trailer at some point, the character steps on something that's loud, the thing comes out of nowhere and kills them, right? It got a big reception online from the trailers because the two movies that did come out were like really, a big deal. And I'm just surprised that it did not get shown on any show. But I think this might end up getting some traction, at least with the streamers and stuff at some point. And I looked into it when I saw this, and I just wanted to mention that there is also another Quiet Place movie that I didn't know about until I searched, but it's actually set to come out right around the corner. So it's called A Quiet Place Day One, where they show the events of when the creatures and stuff very, very first was
You didn't see that
got to
trailer?
Earth. No, I didn't see it until now, but this comes out on June 27th. In theaters everywhere and stuff. And so some of the same actors we've seen in there that was from the other movies and stuff. And I saw the first two movies. You saw the first two movies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
So yeah, the franchise got some layers now. It's not just the movies, they got the game now. The game looks like somebody did actually work on it a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's gonna just fit right in with the horror community on some like Five Nights at Freddy kind of thing, Alien Isolation kind of thing. But I just thought it was pretty cool that they took something from the movie world and put it in the game world, and it didn't look like it was a cash grab. Like if you remember, like the PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, PS3 era, every time they used to have a movie, there was just like this game that was just thrown together to like match the movie or whatever.
Hmm.
That was just like a thing back then. Where this didn't seem like that. This looked like there was something that they just worked on the side, and it's gonna come out and it's probably gonna get a nice little buzz. But yeah, I just thought it was cool just to point that out, for that franchise. But I think we're done, man. I didn't have nothing else. I didn't have anything else. This is gonna be just talking about the Nintendo show for the most part. And yeah, the Epic Game stuff. Was there anything else? Anything else you might
No.
wanna? Nothing.
Oh, Ark Survival Evolve ended up dropping the Power Ranger stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so then you can buy it.
Okay.
But it's a skin pack, so you have to pretty much really be in the game in order to really like get this stuff. But for the trailer, it showed like they're your little like default caveman looking character walk over and pick up a morpher, and the first one picks up the Red Ranger morpher, the Tyrannosaurus one, and then he ends up morphing and then doing the full on like pose thing that the Red Ranger does was the terrain like the T-Rex Zord walks up
Yeah.
and then they start going through all the Rangers, the main five, while they all do that, and then it shows like generic characters with like the five regular dinosaurs, and on one side of the screen running to like fight, and on the other side it's the Rangers fighting. But it's just yeah. So as much as I don't play Ark, I tried it once and I hated it. Uh, but if this takes off and the other game takes off, we might get a legit Power Ranger game. Who knows?
Well, drop it in the chat. I'm gonna go take a look at that later, probably tomorrow.
All
Is that
right.
still the same game with? Is Vin Diesel in that one?
He's in the sequel,
Oh, he's in. Oh,
the
so they
next
put
one,
that in. Why didn't they put that in the sequel? Then? I
because
don't know.
no one knows when the sequel's coming out. Because I also think the
Oh,
sequel is more RPG. This one is just a survival game. It's just a
okay.
sandbox. You're dropped in the world, live. Like I dropped in, I didn't know the controls, and the first thing I was like, it just landed me. I walked forward a little bit, and then something stung me, and I just died. And then the next time it loaded me in front of a raptor, and the raptor just attacked me, and I died. And then the third time it loaded me in, I was able to make it to the night, and then it was just like you're getting cold, and then I just died. And then the fourth time it loaded me in front of a different dinosaur, or a saber-toothed tiger, sorry, that just
Oh
chased
my
me down
god.
and killed me, and I died. The fifth time, it loaded me right back in front of that same saber-toothed tiger, but as I was getting away, I stepped on fire ants and died. And
Oh my
then the next
gosh.
time it loaded me in, I was just kind of walking around. I ran into some friends finally. We walked through, we found someone's base that they had built, and we didn't really know what was going on, and it's just kind of just walking, and it was like, all right, I'm done with this.
All right, man. It's realistic. You gotta. Is who knows, man? Vin Diesel gonna take it to the next level. Power Rangers might take
Sure.
it to the next level. Uh, that reminds me of a game that they showed at the last year's. I don't know if it was called E3 at the time, but the last year's set of shows, they had the Jurassic Park game that I think was supposed to be like first person, possibly first person shooter, but it was like horror based in a way where you still had to hide and stuff, and they were
Okay.
recreating the scene, the famous scene from the first Jurassic Park movie where they're in the like big kitchen and they're like on the bottom and the raptors like looking through and stuff. And so they recreated that for the trailer, and I remember they had the whole thing in first person when they got to the gameplay. So I wonder if that might be similar, because it looked like a horror survivor in a way. But
Oh, maybe.
yeah, I guess that's it, man. 99th episode in the books. For anybody out there, sorry for being negative on the Nintendo stuff.
You
I
ain't sorry.
I hope that we do get more information soon. At some point this year, maybe if possible, just a teaser of what it might look like. Maybe they might flash like a Joy-Con for half a second or something. For the Switch 2, because at this point, I think we kind of just want to see that from Nintendo. what they can bring to the table for the next generation for them. But honestly, leave these ports in the past. That's where I'm at with it. Like leave that with the Switch. The Switch was the port system. That's fine. Switch 2. I need to see just new games and new IPs, please. Like let the ports, if anything, let the games that look like ports be as far as it goes, and then everything else new system, new year, new me kind of thing. That's what I'm looking for the Switch. But yeah, that's all I got for you here. For everybody, leave a like, comment, share, subscribe. 100 episode next week. I don't think I know what I'm gonna do, but at least I'm gonna just be like, yo, big 100, and we'll talk some gaming stuff. But yeah, have a good day, and we will catch you next time. Peace.